Okay. So, Cody, I'm going to pull your presentation up momentarily.
So if anyone has any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to write them in the chat. I'll be monitoring that. And then I think we'll also have a question period at the end.
Yes, thank you, Tori. And I'll let each presenter kind of talk about how, if they're okay with it, you know, let them decide if you guys want to unmute yourself and ask questions along the way, or always use the chat. Tori will be monitoring that, or if they'll ask you to wait till the end to ask questions. And I believe all of our presenters will be able to hang on throughout the presentation. So at the end, if you want to go back and you forgot to ask, you know, Alex anything, you know, they'll be able to answer any of your questions. But I will let you guys take it from here. And thank you everyone for joining us.
So yeah, we're Cody Kilcoyne and Alicia McLaughlin from Kilcoyne Farms. What we do is we raise beef cattle. We turn around, we wholesale the meat to restaurants, schools, hospitals, different private individuals as well. We do everything but butcher and package right now. So we have our own distribution. So we have refrigerated box trucks and refrigerated vans. Everything that we do is through the USDA. So all of our beef is USDA inspected. So we're kind of almost a vertically integrated company. We're working on building our own processing facility as well in the future here. So we would be fully vertically integrated. We work with a couple other small farms as well to keep up with the demand rather than be a kind of a monopoly situation. But I don't know if you have anything else for the current.
I don't think so. I think that's good. I don't know. Are you controlling it, Nicolina, or are we doing it?
Sorry, yeah, just let me know whenever you want me to move on to the next slide.
Okay. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. Cody answered some of this, I guess. So we're a family-owned beef business. We do the majority of everything ourselves. Our father, Pat, was who owns the business. He was the founder. And then my brother, Cody, myself, and then my husband and I actually live on the farm. So we do the majority of the ag side of things. Cody does a lot of the distributing and customer side of things. My husband and I also do the accounting and the bookwork and state forms and all that fun stuff. Nicolina had asked how we had gotten into farming. And we actually have quite a long family history. Our grandfather immigrated from Ireland to the Quebec area with his family, and he was a child. And he actually founded the original farm in Brazier Falls, New York. So that's where we're originally from.
He was also an ag teacher as well.
He was, so. And he was very heavily involved in a lot of community ag stuff. Like he used to judge dairy cattle, and he did all sorts of stuff. So that's how my dad got into farming, and my father actually bought the original farm. So that's where we grew up, was on the original founding farm in Brazier. So you can go to the next slide. Those are just some cuts of our meat and some of our cows. We go ahead.
Covered that one.
Covered a decent amount of this one already between Cody and I on the first ones. But again, my dad, Pat, he still actually is actively involved. He still does his original run in the Adirondacks up Lake Placid, Saranac direction. And then he trucks cattle during the week as well. Again, Cody does the sales and deliveries across a large area of New York. And then my husband and I do farm and stuff. I think he got cut off the slide here, but.
You can go to the next one. Yeah, so how we started, my father basically was doing it for ourselves and our extended family for a little bit, selling, you know, cuts of meat to our family members and friends. We started out really with the quarters and halves, you know, to family, friends, and family. And then he took one cooler of beef up to our first account was Mirror Lake Inn up in Lake Placid. So that was our very first restaurant account. And then he built a route up that way We've grown it big enough now to support 3 separate families off of the business. Obviously, we have my wife works off the farm, her husband works off the farm, and then my mom works off the farm too. So not fully supporting everybody, but as best as a farm can support 3 families. The original truck is on the bottom of those pictures right there. And then we kind of, over the years, upgraded to the bigger refrigerated truck in the top right. And actually this morning, I just purchased a 26-foot straight truck because we've got quite a few larger accounts as well. You can go to the next slide. What does that say?
Hold on here. Let's see if we can move. Sorry, technical difficulties. You can't see our PowerPoint. So where we are today, we are actually located in Hudson Falls, New York. And in 2016, it was a family decision actually that everybody kind of transplanted from Brazier down to this area. Our parents live 4 miles down the road. Cody and his wife live a bit a ways, but the four of us are up here. And then after the move, the growth kind of expanded beyond what our father could handle. So we started kind of slowly, officially coming in one by one. Like I said, my husband and I live on the farm. So we've been doing it since we were children. Like we grew up on a farm, so we did chores and stuff all the time. So we never really got out of the farming, but it just became more official, I guess, after we moved down to where we are now. And Cody already mentioned that it went from just my father operating the entire business to the 4 of us running it every day.
We chose Hudson Falls because it was still far enough away from all of the populated areas down here. And it was close enough to get to the Albany areas and then further south as well.
It's relatively centrally located to the majority of our accounts too. So we kind of have like a kind of a wagon wheel outside of.
Before we were almost in Canada. So we had about 5 hours to drive to
just
get
one way to get to
any really restaurants. So
yeah,
you can go to the next one. We've used quite a few resources throughout the years. We listed kind of the top ones that have helped us out over, the majority of our farming industry. It's nothing surprising, I would say, for most people, but they do help quite a bit. So Cornell Cooperative Extension, Farm Credit East, SUNY Adirondack, we actually work pretty closely with them. Because they have a culinary program that they have a butchering program as well. So we bring them half carcasses and they break down the animals and then they use that meat in their restaurant, teaching their students how to cook and butcher at the same time. So with our slaughterhouse, we're going to be partnering with them to do some internships with them as well. Then we have an ungodly amount of connections with chefs because of the amount of accounts that we have. And then the IDA has been a huge help as well. And SCORE has helped us with quite a few of our business plan stuff. So we've gotten good at adjusting business plans quite a bit. You can go to the next one.
Hold on, I gotta move you guys again. So the biggest advice I think that we could drum up in our brains was, obviously, if you're in the ag industry, you have to be prepared to be flexible because nothing ever goes how you planned, ever. That was really highlighted during COVID when the first lockdown happened. We were completely out of business with an entire farms of expenses that still had to be taken care of and paid for. So we couldn't just not take care of our animals and not pay our bills and stuff, even though our entire customer base, which was the restaurants, hospitals, colleges, everybody was shut. So we were able to shift to the majority doing private sales. And I know we talked a little bit about it before the presentation, but Facebook, the networking on Facebook is really what saved us. So that kind of ties into our next piece of advice about making a lot of community connections and fostering those relationships. Really just reaching out and just getting to know people. I have to say our customers like spamming us all over everything is really what kept us going through COVID. And then we do try to make an effort to collaborate with other local businesses as much as possible. As long as, yeah, do you have any other ones?
I don't think, don't be afraid to ask for advice. I know a lot of farmers tend to be a little bit, you know, my way or the highway kind of deal, but you know, there's a lot of new ways of farming and a lot of new technology that can really help, you know, your overall, you know, take home in even just in your pocketbook. You know, reach out to Cornell Cooperative Extension, ask for Saratoga Plan, you know, all these people that are helping us right now. They have a lot of great advice and a lot of times it's free.
Or
yeah.
they can connect you with somebody who, even if they can't help you, they might know somebody who can. So being able to connect you with somebody,
Or
who's
just
the missing
asking,
piece.
or just
Yeah.
asking farmers like ourselves, like, how do you guys do this, you know, on a smaller scale, or how do you start up in something like this? Nobody's gonna, well, I shouldn't say nobody, but no, most people aren't gonna shut you down and tell you, no, yeah, you're not gonna take a look at our business kind of thing. So we're always more than happy to help anybody that's coming along asking questions. I think we're good with that one.
Yeah. That was really cool. I remember you mentioned it, Cody, but I completely forgot that you had mentioned that you guys have that relationship with SUNY Adirondack. And that's a really cool partnership to have. So it's very interesting. Do you have any questions for anybody that you'd like to ask Cody or Alicia right off the bat? No? All right. Well, if you have one and you think of one in the next few moments, feel free to ask. In the meantime, I'm going to get Kate down set up with FarmNet so you can do your presentation. I feel like every time I go to share my screen or allow somebody to do it, I suddenly forget how. Hold on. Okay, Kate, I believe you can go ahead and share your screen. Let me know if you have any issues.
Right.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kate Downs, the Outreach Director with New York FarmNet. We're a program of Cornell University, so I guess we're kind of sisters to Cornell Cooperative Extension. We are based on campus, but we have folks located all over New York State. And what FarmNet does is provide free and confidential on-farm consulting to any farmer in New York State. So we would be another really great resource that you could connect with. We operate a 24/7 helpline. It's 1-800-547-3276, or you can fill out a web form on our website, nyfarmnet.org. And those, you can call us or fill out that form, both generate the same thing. It just asks for some specifics about what's going on, and it can range from I need help with a business plan, or I decided I hate my brother and want to dissolve our partnership. How do I do that? Sorry, I didn't pick up on any tension, but these are some actually really common things that we hear all the time. So folks call the 800 line, and myself and my colleagues in the main office in Ithaca, we answer that and we talk to you and connect you with our team of consultants who are located all over New York State. And there's, I think, about 45 now. Half of them are financial folks or retired ag lenders. They used to work for Extension. They were farmers themselves. And then we also have family consultants who have backgrounds in social work and family counseling, as well as agriculture. So it's a pretty unique, holistic approach to looking at agriculture and farming and working out a business plan. So like I said, we provide totally free and confidential assistance. Usually when, the world cooperates, weather and COVID wise, we provide on-farm consulting. So we would come right out to you, meet around the kitchen table, walk around the farm, see what's going on. In COVID times, we have flipped to adding Zoom calls, FaceTime calls as well, because some people just aren't comfortable with other folks in their house, and that's completely understandable. Other times we have to fit within the Cornell framework and we aren't able to travel. So, but we've done a pretty good job pivoting to web access, although that has highlighted the struggles of broadband throughout our rural communities. But in those meetings, we help with financial analysis and decision-making, business planning, working on family relationships, retirement and estate planning. We've really encouraged that before, folks are thinking, they're a year out from retirement. We like to have these conversations with folks 10 years beforehand. Family business management, because I'm sure as Alicia and Cody can agree with, it can be tricky to run a family business, as probably a lot of you know it too. And then we also talk a lot about personal well-being, stress management, some mental health challenges, and how to work through some of those crises. And again, we have our team, but we also refer out to other organizations like Cooperative Extension and like American Farmland Trust and, lots of other folks. So, we can do a lot of the initial work, but sometimes we do pass it off. So just, we are often associated with just working with dairy farms, and they do make up the bulk of our casework, but it might be a little hard to see. Apologies for that. But we do work with folks all across the board, from livestock producers, fruit and veg folks, value added, agritourism, all the way down. We've got some hemp and hops growers and apiaries and maple producers in there. This past year was pretty busy for us, as you might imagine, especially with a lot of folks still struggling through, what does COVID mean for my farm? How can I afford employees with the overtime regulations changing? But we've, 94% of the farms we've worked with in the past year have stayed in farming, which is pretty incredible. We helped 203 beginning farmers, and that could be anything from farm service agency borrower training. We do that for free. We're a partner with FSA. To business planning, to, how do we pivot to make our business work in COVID? And then, as I'm sure many of you well know, personal and family stress has been pretty high. And we've actually seen an 85% increase since 2018. So that was pre-COVID, and then COVID and COVID. So stress is pretty high with personal and families on the farm. Like I said, our financial consultants, they're the numbers people. They, can run those cash flow analyses day in and day out. They love looking at the profitability of farms, looking at improving farm viability, cash flow budgets, partial budgets, all that number crunching goodness. They also love looking at business plans and developing business plans and seeing how folks can pivot. They're also, because some of them have worked in ag lending, farm service agency, farm credit east, whatever, they are really good at figuring out how to restructure debt, or, what, this type of loan might look like. And, sometimes with farming, you have to sell a farm. Sometimes that's what happens. And we actually have several of our consultants who have been through that personally. We have one who is an auctioneer on the side, so they know the ins and outs of how to plan a farm sale and how to exit farming gracefully. Our family consultants, they're really good at setting goals, helping and listening to everybody in the room. Well, you know, the financial consultant might be at the table crunching numbers. The family consultant might be over in the corner just watching everything and observing what's going on, and then noticing that there's, you know, some really a lot of tension between two family members, and they might pick up on that conflict. And then, you know, down the road, once a relationship is established, then they can help with that conflict management, or, you know, how to conduct a family or business meeting, because it's really hard with all these, you know, overlapping bits of our lives, especially in farming, because it's not a 9 to 5 job. Like I said, we help with stress management and coping skills, help with time management, communication, coping with loss and grief. We've had to do a lot of that, unfortunately, recently in the past few years since the start of the pandemic. Also, that can look like divorce, that can look like moving off the farm, that can look like having to sell the farm. It's not just the death of a loved one or whatever. It can be the loss of a relationship as well. And then, you know, if they can also help develop a resume and looking for off-farm employment, if that's an option that is determined that will suit the family. Many farms call, or many folks call, I should say, a farm can't call us. Many folks call us to get started in farming because we are free and confidential. People call us to transfer from one generation to the next, from within the family to outside the family. A lot of business and financial questions. Recently, in the past few years, we're getting a lot of calls around stress, depression, and anxiety because of everything that's going on, and, you know, family and business communication problems. So they're all across the board. Usually, I think Cody mentioned it at the beginning of their talk, farmers don't really like to ask for help. And usually when they come to us, it's kind of a day late. Oftentimes it's like 10 years too late, but we can still help have those hard conversations between family members, you know, talk through things as husband and wife. You know, we can help with a lot of those issues that bubble up. I don't need to go through the top farm stressors, many of them, you know. I guess I should add COVID to the list. And then, yeah, the government regulations. I was on a call this morning that was just overwhelming government regulations. So what to expect when you call our 800 number is that a real live human will answer. You know, during business hours, it's myself or one of my colleagues. After hours, we have our number rolled over to an answering service, and someone there will take your call. And if it's an emergency, you can tell them that, and they will reach out to me, and I will reach back out to you, and we will talk until you are not in crisis. Once you call us, we will assign a team of consultants. So you get 2 folks if you call us, and they reach out to you within about 24 hours to set up that first meeting. The nice thing about FarmNet is that our consultants live and breathe in agriculture, so they know what farming is like. They know how hard it is. They know it's damn near impossible to get off the farm, especially during harvest season. So they already understand why you do what you do. They get it. They're there to help you, and they're not asking you to leave or, you know, go somewhere else. You know, they're there to sit with you. So, and then once you schedule the farm visit, they come out, work with you, and it's not just a one and done visit. It's, you know, we've got some families that are on year 3 of working with us through a farm transition from the senior to the junior generation. That's the nice thing, is that because we have such a robust team across the state, we're able to work with folks as long as they need us. Yeah, you get both like I said, a team of consultants, and, you know, I guess it's a little repetitive. We do also make outside referrals, sometimes to extension. A lot of times we bring in extension if we're working on a case, and and they have a good relationship with that farmer, we'll bring them in. We, you know, sometimes we call in ag mediation. They might be an appropriate resource for what's going on. So we have a lot of different connections in New York. New York is pretty resource rich in that regard. And then how we work is you can refer a farmer to call us, or you can let them know that they can call us, but you can't call on behalf of a farmer, I should say. So usually the folks who are ready for help, that's when they call us. Otherwise, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. We can't, you know, if Nicolina's got a farmer she's really worried about, she can call me, but I can't start a case on behalf of that farmer. That farmer's got to reach out to me or whomever and make that call. So a lot of times my workaround to that is, say Nicolina's got a farmer in her office and she's really worried about them. And she calls me and says, hey, I've got this farmer. I'm really worried. Things are going sideways on the farm, really rough patch at home. What do we do? You know, I can say, well, if the farmer's there, are they willing to talk to me? So Nicolina could literally dial my number and then hand the phone over to that farmer. So, because sometimes it's the barrier to asking for help is just dialing that phone number. So that's one way. Sometimes I have folks call my personal cell phone, but reach out to us anyway you feel comfortable, and we will do our best to reach out and connect you with the resources we have. If you are in crisis or know someone in crisis, these are some really great resources that are available 24/7, 365. They're there to help you, help people you love. Don't be afraid to call them. You also don't have to be in crisis. If you're worried about a friend, you can call or reach out to them and they can guide you through your next steps and how to best help that person. And with that, this is my email address and our 800 number. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer some, or you can email me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate, so much. It was actually through extension when I kept working with them as I learned more about FarmNet. And I think I've pointed someone, at least 1 to 10 people in each of your directions in one form or another. But it's a lot of wonderful things that you do, and I think it's a great resource. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, and next we have Alex. I'm sorry if I pronounced the last name poorly. Morcini or Morcini?
Morency. Close.
Morency. Okay, sorry.
No
All
worries.
right. It's been a long day. Just know I've been practicing everyone's name in my head before I said them all, and I'll still get them wrong. All right, you're okay with me doing your PowerPoint, or would you like to run it?
No, you can run it. That's fine.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. There it is. Okay. All right, can you guys see it?
Yep.
All right, Alex, take it away and just let me know when you want me to move on.
Will do. All right. So like Nicolina said, I am Alex Morency. I work for American Farmland Trust, but today I'm going to specifically be talking about the Farmland for New Generation New York program. American Farmland Trust is a national agricultural land trust, so we work all across the country, but we have an office in New York. And then, like I said, this program is focused specifically on New York. So this is what I'm talking about today. Nicolina, do you want to go to the next slide? So a little bit of background. I think Cody and Kate both mentioned a couple of these kind of stats that I'm going to talk about, but I think sometimes it's good to have numbers to the things that we're seeing. In New York, the average age of farmers is about, I think it's 57. Is that what I went up to? I think with the last ag census. And the number of farmers 65 years and older actually outnumber farmers that are under 35, 3-1 in the state across New York. So that's just for New York. That's not even across the country. That's just in New York. According to AFT's research, 92% of farmers in New York that are over 65 don't have a young person or an identified successor working alongside them. And about 50% of those are not involved in any succession planning at all. So like Kate was saying, sometimes she wishes they came about 10 years earlier. That fact is definitely true because a lot of them are not even thinking about it. So what that means is that there's a lot of land across the state that is at risk, agricultural land, farmland that's being used for various practices across the state is at risk of being developed, being sold, sometimes being split up because people can't, afford to buy a 300-acre dairy farm or larger. So sometimes those parcels are split up. So there's a lot of land at risk. So FNG was kind of started for the Farmland for New Generation program was started in 2018, basically to help connect farmers that are looking for land to those landowners. They don't necessarily have to be farming landowners. They can be non-operator landowners or really anyone who has land that they want to make available to farming. We wanted to be able to make a connection for those groups of people to be able to connect with one another, to find land, but then also to find resources. So we help kind of all farmers, farmers from all backgrounds, new, beginning, aspiring, those seeking land, landowners, whether they're farming or they just are non-operators. So that's people who just own farmland and either they lease it out to other farmers or they want to lease it out to farmers to be able to use. This program, over the last 3 years, we've supported about 3,700 farmers and landowners through technical assistance, but then also the kind of more exciting fact to talk about is that we've actually helped facilitate 91 matches between farmers and landowners, and that's kept about 4,300 acres of land in agricultural production. And we count matches as both parties were listed on the website, the New York Farmland Finder website that I'll talk about a little later on, and they connected through that, or they worked directly with myself, one of my coworkers, or one of our really great regional navigator programs that I'll talk about again too later on. We kind of had a hand in all of these matches. So that's the amount of people that probably somehow were connected to the program may be greater than that. But those 91 farmers actually spent time with all of us and kind of had some one-on-one hand-holding assistance through that program. So the two major parts of the program I mentioned already are the Resource Center or the New York Farmland Finder, and then also our Regional Navigator program. Those are the two parts that make this really successful. And if you want to go to the next slide, we'll talk about the New York Farmland Finder website. So this is a screenshot of the homepage. This is what it looks like. The main function is for it to be a platform for farmers and landowners to be able to connect with one another. When you go to the Find a Farm page, you see all the land that's kind of available. These are profiles that are posted by the landowners themselves. So it's sort of like social media in the way that you go to it, you create a profile and you post your profile online for people to be able to see. So these properties are posted by landowners, sometimes posted by real estate agents. Sometimes they're posted by myself or any of the other regional navigators. If we're working with the landowner, we may have the profile up there. So it's not an exhaustive list of farmland across the state, but the people who are coming to the website are people that want to keep their land either in agriculture, production, in farming, or they want to make it available. So through a lease, something like that. Let me see. So the main buttons on the website are the Find a Farm, the Find a Farmer, and the Create a Profile buttons. that are kind of the big buttons across the front. You do have to have a profile to be able to contact anybody who's on the website. So you either have a land seeker profile if you're a farmer who's looking for land, or you have a farm profile if you're a landowner who has land available. The other things that you can do on the website include looking for a job. If you're looking for an on-farm job, you can use the website to do that. We really feel like getting hands-on experience is a good first step in any kind of farm dream or plan that you have. And there's tons of resources on the resources page. These are usually links to other organizations, homepages. It's also like Cornell Cooperative Extension articles, it really links to all different resources from other organizations. And there's topics that range from farm business planning to transfer planning. You're interested in conserving your property, you can find resources there. It's a pretty long list, and you can pretty much find most things that you're looking for in terms of farmland access or transfer or conservation. The other things you can do on the website is find or attend an event. Those are on the events page. You can contact anyone in the FNG program or any of our regional navigators. And let me see if I'm thinking of any. I think that's everything that you can primarily do with the website. You can contact farmers and landowners, attend events, dig into all these resources. And then probably the most important thing is contacting the organizations and finding the resources and making those connections. You want to go to the next slide? Oh, I forgot there was animations, sorry. So I think I mentioned, but you do have to have a profile to be able to contact anyone who's listed on the website. So the process is that you go to the website, you click on the create a profile button. If you're a farmer, or if you're a land seeker or a farmer, you're going down through and kind of adding information about your farming plans, what your needs are in terms of land, what you're looking to produce, kind of those basic things, building your profile in that aspect. If you're a landowner, you go on and do the same, but for your property, what you have available in terms of infrastructure, what the opportunity is that you're looking to offer. All of that information is included on your profile. So after you have submitted your profile, what we do is we schedule a phone call. Usually it's with myself. Sometimes it's my coworker, Tim, or my coworker, Molly. And we set up a time for us to talk. We'll review your profile, talk about, what your plans are. Maybe there's some resources that we can point you to. It's kind of an opportunity for us to learn a little bit more about what you're looking for and then kind of help you kind of point to next steps. After the phone call, we get the profile activated, and then you're able to see the contact information for the farmers and landowners that are listed on the website. And you're able to kind of directly contact those farmers, those landowners, get the information directly from them, start that conversation with them. And it's a nice way to kind of build your network and start building your network with the community that you're looking to find land in or to make your land available to. You don't need a profile to access any of the resources, go to any of the events, sign up for any of the events, contact a regional navigator, or use the farm job page at all. So there are a lot of things you can access without committing to building a profile. But if you do go through that process and talking with myself or talking with Tim, we usually have some little tidbits that can help you be more successful with using the website from that phone call. And then also you will start getting kind of updates through the website that we send out if you do have an active profile that a lot of people say are really helpful. Next slide, please. So this is the Find a Farm page. All the little blue dots that you see are the kind of currently active profiles. Right now there's 152 farm profiles. There might be a couple more actually that I've added since I built this PowerPoint. So the farms are listed all by the region, and you can filter them based on acreage, location, the crops and livestock, the tenure type. So if you're looking for properties for sale or for lease, and then of course, location. So this is what that page looks like. They're all broken down, or the list is broken down by region. We did actually have farm profiles in every region across the state, but right now the North Country is looking a little sparse, but the profiles can come in basically anytime, like as people are adding them. And we do send out updates if you have an active profile of all the new profiles that have been added. So you get that at least once a month, and you do get automatic website or automatic emails from the website weekly if anything's been added in the area that you are looking. Next slide, please. So on every profile, you should be seeing at least most of this information. A quality profile will definitely have pictures, the location, at least the town that it's located in. They may not have a full address. The acreage, total, tillable, and forested, the soil type if they know it, and sometimes there's a soil map as well. Description of the property's current and past use, a list of the infrastructure, and usually a description as well. The types of crops and livestock that are permitted on the property. That's probably a little more important if it's like a lease situation where the landowner may be living on the property. They may have a few things that are restricted. The tenure that's offered, whether that be a lease, a sale. We have farm management opportunities. We have another category, which could be really anything. And they might be forgetting something else. Farm management, lease. I think those are the four big ones: the management, the lease, the sale, and then the other category. Partnerships. That's what I'm forgetting. The last thing that you'll see on the profile is any preferences or requirements that a landowner may have. This could be like a production type, if they require an ag assessment, some of their personal preferences, or if there's like municipality restrictions. The profiles may vary in the amount of detail that somebody provides, but at a bare minimum, that's kind of the basic stuff that you should be seeing. Next page, please. So the Find a Farmer page looks a little different than the Find a Farm page in the fact that there's no map. You can still search through the list of farmers based on acreage, location, what they're producing, and then the tenure type. There are a lot of farmers that are listed on the website. These people, their backgrounds really vary. Some are very new farmers, some are really experienced, some have businesses that are really thriving and they're looking for more land, some need to move. So there's a wide range of people on the website, almost 500 active profiles. So the number of people looking for land does vastly outnumber the amount of land that is available on the website. That's not to say that the land that is listed on the website might not be a perfect fit for any of these people. Well, it isn't a perfect fit. That's why it's listed on the website for the people that are there. So definitely create a profile if you're interested. But the ways, if you want to go to the next slide, the ways that we encourage farm seekers to, you want your profile basically to stand out a little bit because there are so many farm seekers listed on the website. Really take your time creating your profile. A quality farm profile should really include a thorough description of your farming plans, some information on your farming experience, and a complete description of kind of your land needs and the infrastructure needs or preferences. So, maybe labeling the things that you would like to see on a property, but aren't necessarily a requirement. But definitely like a very thorough description of, what you're planning to produce and what your experience producing is. You kind of want your profile to be like your resume. You want enough information present that a landowner is going to be able to look at it, kind of have a general idea of, that their land's going to be a good fit for you and what you're hoping to do. And then when they reach out to you through email or phone, that's kind of like the interview. You know, basically it's that they can just ask some follow-up questions. Like they have a bare amount of information from your profile, and they're just asking kind of for more information from you during that outreach. You don't want to leave landowners guessing because they're not going to reach out to you if your information is really bare. And we've actually had some landowners say that people that are listed on the website send them a link to their profile and there was nothing on their profile, so they just didn't answer them, which is not a great practice, but I'm just one reason why I encourage people to add information to your profile is because I've had a landowner tell me that's why they didn't follow up with this person, was because they didn't have anything on their profile, so they didn't think that they were serious about their farming plans. If you want to go to the next page. So our regional navigators, this is the second half of the Farmland for New Generation program. So everything I've talked about before was the website. And then the regional navigators are definitely on the website and part of it, but they are 36 organizations kind of all across the state. They are groups like Cornell Cooperative Extensions, Land Trust, other nonprofit ag organizations, and they all have a dedicated staff members that share local expertise and provide kind of one-on-one assistance to farmers really across the state. So FarmNet, Saratoga Plan, both are regional navigators. Other ones that are kind of in the area that are on the call tonight, ASA, so Agricultural Stewardship Associations in Washington and Rensselaer counties. PACE is in the lower Hudson Valley, so PACE University provides pro bono legal services to farmers and landowners. And then I think those are the two major ones in the area, but there's lots of groups here. So the regional navigators, they offer workshops, training, consultations, events. They can help connect farmers with landowners that are listed on the website. They really are the boots on the ground, and they're the ones that are doing a lot of this, the one-on-one work and the supporting the needs of the farmers and the landowners. Some kind of common ways that regional navigators and AFT, so AFT also has a lot of resources that they can offer, including myself, my coworker Tim, my coworker Molly. We're all available. We're the primary ones that you're contacting through the website. And we can do some one-on-one technical assistance within our kind of knowledge base, but we also do a lot of referrals to our regional navigators as well. So some of the common things that people reach out to us about are business planning and technical assistance generally. So any really general questions, land assessments for property that you want to make available, so we can kind of help you with determining, what enterprises might be suitable for that property. We can do some lease review and negotiation, help with planning a lease. We can act as a liaison for a landowner who wants to use the website, but maybe doesn't have or isn't very tech savvy or doesn't have great internet access. They can always give me a call and I can build a profile for them. All of our partners offer workshops like this one that we're all on tonight, and about various land access, transition, succession planning, all those wonderful topics. And then another thing that we have really been doing the last couple of years, our partners have been great about collaborating with us on, is networking events to kind of help facilitate connections between farmers and landowners. And I think that is my last slide. So the next, or if you want to go to the next one, that has my contact information on it. So I'm Alex Morency. You can contact me. I'm pretty much a main point of contact for anything that's website related. My coworkers, Tim and Molly, are available really to answer questions or provide referrals. Tim is currently out of the office on paternity leave, so I'm handling most of his calls, but when he gets back, he is a great person to pick his brain about anything farming or one-on-one technical assistance, because he operates a farm as well.
Thank you, Alex, so much. All right. And last, but certainly not least. Okay. I've suddenly forgotten how to use my computer. There it is. Okay. So last but not least is the Cornell Cooperative Extension. So before I get any further, Nicolina, I will be giving this presentation about the Cooperative Extension, all the services we offer. But one of the things I wanted to mention, I probably should have mentioned it earlier, was when you guys all got your Zoom links, there was an attachment on there, which was a beginner and new farmer resource guide. And it was a list of different organizations and groups, many that were, all that were here tonight, but many more like soil and water conservation districts, Farm Bureau, Farm Credit East. And it gives a little blurb about what they do, the services they provide, contact information, and it's a PDF where you can click on all the links. So it'll take you right to all of their websites, so you can really look at that information a little bit more. But it goes through, and if you're not within Saratoga County, a lot of them, like example, I put the New York State Farm Bureau, but I did kind of cater some of them a little bit more specifically, such as like Saratoga Plan to the Saratoga County region. But a lot of different areas will have very similar organizations that do the same type of work. So just to know that you guys had that attachment. If you have any questions about anything like that or about the PDF, feel free to contact me if you have those. So a little introduction. I'm going to talk about the Cornell Cooperative Extension. But first off, my name is Nicolina, as I had mentioned several times now. These are both pictures of me. Believe it or not, that is actually the same horse in both pictures. His name is Emmett. I quite literally brought him into this world and pulled him from his mother. He's my big guy. He's a Clydesdale cross, so he's huge. Yes, I'm a horse person by default. But anyway, what I do professionally, so I'm the Farm to School Grant Coordinator for Saratoga County. I'm the Agriculture Program Coordinator for our county, and I'm also the Ag Economic and Development Program Coordinator. I wear a lot of hats. I basically, tell everybody I do whatever has to be done in the office. So I do a lot of different things, and I do a lot with extension. But we put this on for new and beginner farmers. And the thing is, the new and beginner farmers look like a lot of different things. And so this is my planned paradise. I wanted to tell you guys that I'm a lot like you, right? I'm in the same position in one form or another. And being a new and beginning farmer doesn't mean that it doesn't always necessarily mean that you're someone that's like, I've decided I want to farm and I'm going to start this. And nobody in my family has done this before. Sometimes you come from a family of farmers, right? I grew up here. This is my childhood home. I grew up here and I moved 747 feet down the road from it. This little tiny house up here in the far left corner. So I grew up on this farm. It was a little 100-acre plot. Before I came along, it was much more active. My dad had, beef cows. He cut his own hay, he raised pigs. And then I came into it and he really decided to kind of slow down. And as much as it's what I came from, me and my husband, in picking this back up, we are, new, and we're doing this all over again. And we're making the decisions how are we going to start? How are we going to build this up? How we're going to get our ducks in a row. So while I have a lot of information and resources, I understand how a lot of people, I understand what it's like to be in that position. As Kate mentioned, in FarmNet, there's a lot of individuals that work with extension, but they have their own farms. Like, I totally get it. I understand some of the difficult choices that may be in front of you. And but this is a little bit about me and my little slice of heaven. That is a picture of me and my husband. Our first really large farm purchase was a new tractor. Needless to say, I was very excited about it. That was the first time I used it and got to put out round bales with an actual spear. I'm through the moon over it. I think it was one of my happier purchases over us building a new house. I was more excited about the tractor. So it just goes to show my priorities. So again, I understand what it's like, and I know how exciting it can be and how overwhelming it can be as well. So about extension and really what the heck we are and what we do. So Cornell Cooperative Extension is part of a land grant system. And that was started in 1862 with a piece of legislation known as the Morrill Act. And it was kind of noticed at that time, and they were actually fairly smart, that farmers are really important, right? They feed us, and they put in this legislation that gave public lands to states, provided that they use at least, they build and establish at least one college that would teach agriculture and in the mechanical arts. So that ended up being Cornell University. the basis of what this was started was is they realized farmers are really important and they feed us and we need them, right, to keep our nation going. And to do that, to allow farmers to do their job and do it well and continuously be successful, is they need to be provided information. So more or less, we are kind of like the mouthpiece of research-based information to the public. And it was started with agriculture and the farmers, and it's really grown to be something so much greater than that. So every state has a land-grant college. This is a really terrible picture of a map. And all the little red dots are land-grant colleges that are all over. Not all of them are Ivy League schools, ours just happens to be Cornell University. But they have them all over the place, such as you go to Pennsylvania, you have Penn State, so that's their extension and their land-grant college. They're all over. We use a lot of their information, and because they built this system across the nation, I use Penn State's extension information all the time. I use University of New Hampshire. So we all use each other's information as well. But when you do that, you're being assured that you're using research-based information. So it's a little bit about how that whole extension program works. They're all over. So what do we actually do? Now, as much as every state has a land-grant college, every county within New York State has an extension office. And while we each have our own extension office, they all look very differently. So we are a mouthpiece of information, be used to portray that information to the public. So it's based off of what our community and our public needs. Well, every community is a little bit different. So the best way for me to kind of show that visually is I took a clip of our website. This is a website, I actually pulled it off today, so it's very recent. And I'm also a visual learner, so I have a lot of visual things. So this is the Cornell Cooperative Extension. We have 4-H programs, we have agriculture, environmental, family and community. There's garden, master gardener programs, food and nutrition. We have the boat steward program and invasive species. We have stormwater management, hunter safety courses we offer. I mean, there's a huge array of things, but when you pull it up, and I pulled being it was the most applicable was agriculture, we have the Eastern New York State Horticulture Team, farm business management, farm safety, livestock, community, Saratoga County Farm Facts, Saratoga County Farms and Markets, our farm to school grant program, all these different things. We do a lot of different programs and grants and things like that. So we do a lot. And as I mentioned that every county looks a little different, this is kind of like a good visual way for me to show this. For example, at the top, we have Schenectady County. They don't have an ag person, at least last I checked, I could be wrong, but theirs looks a little bit different. They have a lot more such as nutrition for seniors and parenting. So they really reflect their community's needs. And Warren County, I know does not have a person that's necessarily considered agriculture. And because of that, they reach out to regional people, but I get questions from them a lot. So we get questions all the time, and we're really a point where people call us and ask questions as simple as, my favorite is, especially because I worked with the master gardeners for a little bit, I have bees in my house, what do I do? To people that want to look to figure out how to lease their lands or what going rates that they should use for property rentals for agriculture. So these are some examples. So I'll get contacted all the time by people who go, okay, so I have birds and I want to butcher, I bought a bunch of laying hens and I want to get them butchered. What do I do? Or how do I go about doing that? Or, I'm starting to raise, fowl for meat, and what are guidelines for New York State, and where do I get to process them? Can I process them myself? So I basically go out, I give them the spiel that I'm not a vet, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a lawyer. But what I can do is I can provide you research-based information. I can provide you information to make a better decision down the road. So for example, this is slaughter guidelines for New York State. And you can also see, you can download it at smallfarms.cornell.edu. But I'll provide them with this information and kind of go through and lay out the basics of them. If they're trying to look to find some places to get the birds processed, I can give them some USDA certified processing, centers and get them set up in that way and point them in the right direction. There were people call about agriculture assessment or a written lease for rented land. Well, what do I do? For example, a great one is Warren County. They got a call, so they sent it down to me. This woman, they owned a decent amount of land. They didn't work anymore, but they had been renting it to a farmer who was cutting hay on it for years. And she's like, he's been cutting hay on it for years. We really like the guy. We don't have a problem, but it's been like over 20 or 30 years since we've renewed our contracts, and we've looked at things, and I believe the going rates of land has, it's gone up. She's like, we're not looking to, rob the guy, but I think the whole lease needs to be reevaluated. So I went on and I went through USDA and I was looking up the going rates on their website based from the censuses that we use to find what the going rates of, hay fields are, to rent it out to a farmer, and I'll get those and I send it off to her. So that's an example of a question I get, or leasing land for agriculture, right? Well, what should I have in what should I have in a lease? What should I look into? We'll get that question. I will usually point them in the direction of someone who might be a little bit more fit to help them. We get a lot of, and it's a common question, it's a great one, is the tax exemption for New York State. How do I get the tax exemption from New York State? What do I need to do? And we get people in a couple different stages that contact me that'll say, hey, where do I get the form? So I kind of give them the whole, listen, you need to talk to an accountant and you need to go to the right professionals to handle this. I usually point them towards Farm Credit East or other people. I said, you can use whoever you're using at this time, but I provide them with the forms that I have available and a little bit of information and how-tos to go through it. And we have a conversation. It usually ends up being anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes. And it's through this conversation, it's always interesting, to kind of go through what it is they're looking for. I can better understand. And they usually leave with more questions, but they're better questions to ask the next person that will give them better results. And that's really the most important thing I want them. It's I want you to ask the right questions to the next guy. Ask the really silly ones to me, and we'll kind of work through those. Another question we get is managing weeds on your farm. How do I, I have a weed, how do I get rid of it? How do I manage it? We get people calling all the time for all different types of things. And the biggest thing that I do is I'll point them in the right direction, especially if I can't help them. For example, if I get a question about dairy, I know enough to know that I don't know enough. So I send them to the expert that really knows what they're talking about. We have a financial management specialist for farming. We have dairy specialists. We have commercial fruit growers. We have experts at Cornell University that we can contact. When, I do a lot of small farms, beginning farms. Big one for me is pasture management. I'm kind of a pasture nut. So that's a big one. And then, so we'll send them out to the right experts. I have sent, oh my God, more people than I can count, I think, to Farm Credit East or to New York FarmNet or American Farmland Trust and to the Farmland for a New Generation. That's a big one I send a lot of people to and advise them to look into it. And I kind of explain what the program is and how it works to the best of my ability. Saratoga Plan and Farmland Conservation, that's a great one. So I'll send people that way. And sometimes it's funny because they'll ask me the questions that they're kind of afraid to ask when they're like, oh, I want to know more about farmland conservation, but they don't want to ask the stupid questions to what they assume to be the professionals or those people in that field, so that they kind of bounce them off me, and I laugh and I say, absolutely, I have the same questions too when I first started. And there's that bit of relationship that's built. Okay, so those are different questions that we get, and that's how we help people. We also do some programming. So we do a homesteader workshops. We have a master food preservation workshops. She's our nutritionist in our office. I've helped her a little bit. I am absolutely nowhere near a master food preserver. But that's really interesting because it kind of takes what I deal with people, whether they're raising livestock for meat or they're growing fruits and vegetables. And it kind of brings it full circle when we start processing this food and are able to can it and utilize it in other fashions. We do farmland access workshops like this with the partnership of Saratoga Plan. I just recently became an Annie's Project facilitator, which is a agriculture, it's an agriculture program that's strictly for women. So it goes on business management, succession planning and everything else, but it's more focused towards women, as a lot of times you'll see that there are farm wives or spouses or companions or whatever that, while they're working, either they're working on the farm, they have their own job outside the farm, but they're also helping with bookworks and things like that. And succession planning comes into it, and you'll get, a lot with ag mediation comes in with mediating, especially when you start dealing with family members. My husband's family, they're both sides of his family work with family, and that can be its own ball of wax. So they help with that. We do beef quality assurance programs and programming. If we're not holding it in this county and people are interested, I will connect them with someone else in another county that hosts those programs. I do go out. I've a big one. And a big question that we get a lot is, I want to start a farm. Okay. Well, they've either bought the land already and they were like, I'd like to farm. I'd like to grow vegetables. I had a gentleman who was like, okay, I'm going to start a farm and I'm going to grow vegetables. And I said, okay, cool. And he goes, well, I'm looking at this piece of property. So he sent it to me. We're looking at it. And I said, okay, cool. This farm's 100 acres, 75 of it's on a mountainside. I mean, that'd be great, but it's going to be really hard to grow vegetables on the side of a mountain. I don't know if you know that, but so there's a place to start. So then I send them information on how do you grow vegetables and what type of vegetables would you like to grow, and the soil qualities and soil types and things to consider. And I was like, if you're really still pretty focused on buying this piece of property, well, let's see what it is good for. What can we use this property for? Or they have already bought the property and they're like, I'm going to do an X, Y, and Z. And I said, cool. Without telling them maybe that's not a good idea, I said, well, have you considered, do you know what that entails? Like, did we look into this? And providing them, I went out to a gentleman's house. This was quite a bit before COVID, and beautiful little farm they had purchased. And we started out the conversation that he was going to raise sheep. And so I got all this information to raise sheep and all of these different things. And I came out and I got to see the property and we started talking, and I was there for about 2 hours, and we went from sheep to goats, to pigs, to beef cattle, back to sheep, back to beef cattle, horses, back to beef cattle, back to horses again. And then we were at boarding and doing a boarding facility. So we looked at all those different things, and I went back to my office with a huge list of information to send him. But we continued that conversation and helped him decide what was the best route for the land that he had, the buildings that he had. So that's a really fun one, and I enjoy it, as I enjoy it a lot. So we do farm calls. I had somebody call me that they had horses, and they had 4 of them. One of them had died and they couldn't figure out why. They thought it was some type of poisonous plant, and the vet actually told them to contact us. Long story short, this woman calls me in a huge frantic, and I was like, okay, I don't really have the time, but I went out to the house. I'm like, give me 30 minutes. She was close to our office. I do a lot with pasture management. So I knew, like, okay, if there's a poisonous plant in the pasture, we can identify it and figure out what it is. The vet had an idea. They told me what they thought it was. I looked up the plant, printed out all the information, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, this doesn't grow in New York State, but if this is what they think it is, I'll bring it. We went through this whole thing. We came through deductive reasoning that it was not a plant in the pasture, but I had noticed a lot of trees, and I said, I'm not an expert in trees, but I know enough to know that I think we got something going on, and noticed a few of them had been browsed. It was a black walnut tree. I don't know if anyone knows that black walnut trees and horses, as these were horses, one of them had passed away, had died from it, or from whatever they had ingested. And black walnut, even if it's in shavings that are used in stalls, the horses will break out in hives horrifically and can cause respiratory issues. They had actually eaten them, and the first horse had passed away. There was a second horse that was very close to passing away, but I got back to the office, realized what it was, contacted them, and they were able to get in contact with the vet, and they actually ended up saving the other 3. I'm not a vet. I give the spiel, but it was really great to be able to help someone like that. So we do a lot of different things. We're not all, doesn't always work out that way, or we're not always able to give you all the answers, but we at least can provide you the information to make better and more informed decisions, which is the most important thing. Are there any questions? Sorry if I ran through that kind of quick. These are the traditional farm dog here in his glory. And this is our very underfed horses on the other side. Those are apple clippings from when my mom made a pie. Let me see. I want to thank everybody who came and all of our presenters. Those from Kilcone Farms, I think it's really great what you guys are doing, and glad you got to, kind of talk about your farm, and you guys have had a lot of growth in what seems to be kind of a really short amount of time. And I think that's really awesome and amazing. And I will speak for myself that when we look at, we all talk about, we're all a little bit in agriculture. The most important thing is, and I want to see, is while I get to have a lot of this information because I work for Extension, I know I speak for myself and probably a few others, the best thing in the world is see, we just want to see all these farms be really successful and do really, really well. Right? Nothing makes me happier than to see somebody killing it in agriculture, even if it's just part-time on the weekends. I'm like, yeah, you guys have done it. So absolutely, any questions you guys have, please feel free to reach out to any and all of us. And if you think of any questions along the way, you can always email us back.